In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, verse 15:7, "The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses which include the mind. It makes sense to know that as a soul I have an individual existence, and therefore my liberation or removal of ignorance has to be worked out individually. And when the subtle body which covers the soul that I am is done with, then I'll exist as pure light or Brahman. However, according to Advaita, we are all one Brahman. So how is it that this one is covered with millions and zillions of subtle and gross bodies? And how is that removal of ignorance to be worked out separately for each? From whom does the ignorance need to be lifted? From Brahman? But the Brahman is one. Why does each mind-body mechanism have to work separately to remove ignorance from that which is one in us all?"
Oh, very big questions. I remember when I was a young monk, I visited one of the schools of Tibetan Buddhism. I was wandering in North India, so in a place called Dehradun, on the road to, what's the hill station? Mussoorie. On the road to Mussoorie, there is a big Tibetan monastery. So I visited that. And I had this question about the relationship between Advaita Vedanta and Tibetan Buddhism. So the head of that monastery, who was the head of a particular sect of Tibetan Buddhists called the Sakyapa. Yes. So I met him. And a long queue of people all taking his blessings. He's like the guru for thousands of people. So I was in the queue as a sort of honored visitor. I told him which lineage I come from, that I'm a Hindu monk and so on. So I had this question. What is the relationship, similarities and dissimilarities between Tibetan Buddhism and Advaita Vedanta? He knew what I was asking. So he was a very gracious and wise man, huge, enormously, powerfully built. He was sitting and he looked down at me. And he had this huge grin, and he said, "Big question, no time." So I burst out laughing and I bowed down to him and said, "Thank you, that's all right, we'll some other time maybe." Yes, big question. I'll try to answer in brief. The sting is in the tail. The real question, if you know the Advaita polemics, where is ajnana or avidya, ignorance? Where is it? Is it in Brahman or is it in us, the jiva? So that's the last one. But before that, the earlier part of it, are we one or many? That's what she's asking. Gita seems to say that we are many. The Lord says, these jivas are fractions of my being. So from that, the Vishishta Advaita philosophy can take up very well, that we are all parts of the Lord. So are we one or many? Obviously, as bodies, we are many. Just count. Head count. Bodies, we are many. As subtle bodies, the thoughts, feelings, ideas, persons inside, many or one? Many. He's trying to look at my face. What is the correct answer? No, just use common sense. Don't you feel that you're different from the person next to you? Of course. Your life story is different. Your ideas, thoughts, likes, dislikes, they're all different. So you are different. As bodies, we are different. As the subtle body also, we are different. We are different subtle bodies, different physical bodies. Clearly so. But as the Atman, as pure consciousness, that's supposed to be the correct answer. That's why you're telling me. That which we are trying to meditate upon, the vast, limitless sky of consciousness in which all sensations arise and fall. Even the word limitless, if it is limitless, Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam Brahma, pure being, pure awareness, and infinite. If it is infinite, if it is limitless, can there be more than one? You see what I'm asking? If the bodies are different, then there is limit. My body ends here and yours begins there. They say that my freedom ends where my nose ends and your nose begins. So, yes, there's a limit. These bodies are limited in space. I occupy this chair and not that chair. In time, there's a time when this body was born, and there's a time when this body will die. We are limited in time. We are limited in space. And we are limited as object. That means each body is different from each other. So limitation is there. As minds also, we are limited. My thoughts, your thoughts are different. They limit each other. This is not that. What do I mean by limit? This is this and not that. So there are two things. So it's limited. But that one consciousness without distinction, without limit, if you say infinite, how many infinites and how many limitless things can there be? Only one. Logically speaking. Even if you want to understand it phenomenologically. Phenomenologically means how it feels to you. Clearly the body feels different. It feels to us right now, our bodies feel different, you can see. Minds also feel different. My mind is, I can't sense your mind, but you can sort of estimate the way we estimate, which we infer about other people's minds. And clearly we feel they're different people. So the minds are also different. But now think, if I am just the witness consciousness, without any characteristic means distinguishing characteristic. In Sanskrit, vishesha. Vishesha means that which distinguishes one from the other. If there are no distinguishing characteristics, how will you say, my infinite consciousness is different from your infinite consciousness? There is no my and your there. My and your comes only with the mind. So, from the Atman point of view, the infinite consciousness, Atman or Brahman, same thing. It's one. It's one. Then if I am the Atman or Brahman, how is it many? It's just imagine this. The one sun shining there, reflected in multiple pots and buckets of water, dewdrops. You will see millions of reflections. And they're all shining like the real sun. So how many suns are there? It's a one real one and many reflected ones. So there's only one real sun, but this consciousness reflected in the mind. Just now when we look at our minds, we feel conscious, we feel aware. That's the reflected consciousness, Chidabhasa. That's not the real Atman, not the real self. That reflected consciousness is as many minds, so many reflected consciousnesses, and so many jivas, individual beings. So at the level of body we are different, at the level of the mind we are different, and the consciousness in the mind, reflected consciousness in the mind, we are different. But all that is possible because of one limitless consciousness, which appears in so many forms. You sit surrounded by mirrors in a barber shop. How many of you are there? Thousands, because each mirror reflects the others. So there's endless sequence of your faces there. Only one real face. And many. As many mirrors, so many faces. But those are reflections. Really one, apparently many. And those many can be different. Convex mirror, concave mirror, different types of mirror, you'll find funny shapes. But those are only because of the mirror. Your face is not like that. Similarly, we all seem to be different beings, and at that level we are different beings. At the physical level we are different beings. But inside, as you go deeper, body, mind, witness consciousness, you come to a oneness. So that's the answer to the first question. The second one is actually much more difficult. Here, I don't know if she has written, her name is Pramila. I don't know if she has written consciously or deliberately, but she has touched upon a very deep point of non-dualistic, what is called dialectics. Dialectics means debates with the dualists. So one great question is, where is ignorance or maya? In Sanskrit, ashraya. What is the locus? Where is ignorance? So why should that be a problem? You see, Vedanta says Brahman alone is real. Because of ignorance of our real nature, we seem to be individualized. We seem to be separate. Now, if ignorance is in us, then how did we come to exist? Because before our individualized existence, ignorance must be there. After ignorance, only Brahman appears as individualized jiva. Are you with me? It's a matter of logic. So ignorance must logically precede my own existence. Existence as a jiva. But then that means Brahman is in ignorance. Ignorance must be in Brahman. But that sounds very strange. So if you say ignorance is in jiva, there's a fault is mutual dependence. Anyonyashaya. That means the very separate existence of the jiva depends on ignorance, and ignorance depends on in the jiva, is in the jiva. So how can the two, they are mutually dependent, can't work. But if you say ignorance is in Brahman, another problem. How can ignorance be in the absolute reality? It's like saying there's darkness in the sun. There's no darkness in the sun. Darkness is there because the clouds obstruct our vision. So this question is a long and deep and involved question. There are two schools of Vedanta. One school, the one which we follow generally, is called the Vivarana school, coming from one of the disciples of Shankaracharya, Padmapadacharya. So that school, technically, its position is that ignorance is in Brahman. So Brahman has ignorance? No, that is not a problem. What is the answer? Because ignorance does not have the same status as Brahman. That means Brahman is existence itself. Ignorance is not a second thing which is apart from Brahman. It is basically the power of Brahman, by which Brahman is occluded or hidden and projected as this universe. See, what would be the problem? If ignorance or Maya is a second thing and Brahman is another thing, so there will be two. So non-duality is violated then. But here we are saying Maya is not a second reality apart from Brahman. You can call it the power of Brahman or whatever. That's one school. The other school is Vachaspati Mishra, what is called the Bhamati school. And they say that ignorance is in us, in the jiva, not in Brahman. How do you know that? Who feels ignorant right now? I do not know Brahman. I, the jiva. So obviously ignorance is in you. Where is the question of ignorance being in Brahman? I do not know my real nature. So ignorance is in me. Then what about the problem of mutual interdependence? So that's like the chicken and egg problem. This is bijankuravat, like the seed and the sprout. Which comes first? So it's not that they are at coterminous and logically contradict each other. But ignorance produces the jiva. But the jiva also perpetuates ignorance. And it's a beginningless series, and so that's how he leaves it. The answer is that there's no solution to this question. What the sadhus say in the Himalayas is, don't try to prove Maya. Don't try to prove. Agyan siddh mat kijiye, agyan ko kaatiye. Don't try to establish ignorance. If you investigate ignorance, you overcome ignorance by knowledge. What happens then when you realize your nature as Brahman, when you're enlightened, this question doesn't exist anymore. As one Swami put it beautifully, on this side of enlightenment, on our side of enlightenment, there is the question, no answer. On their side of enlightenment, there is the answer, but no question.